What is going on, guys? It is TCG coming to you a little bit of news and a little bit of discussion. And today we got a banned and restricted card announcement. This is on the world.digimoncard.com website, which is the official website for the Digimon card game. This announcement was posted today, May 26, 2023. And we're going to go over it. We're going to talk about how it's going to be applying to the meta, as well as some of my general thoughts and feelings, and cards that maybe should have been also on this list as well. But with that said, let's get into it. Now, these cards were spoiled for me, so unfortunately, I do know the cards, but we'll talk about them anyway. This is effective on June 1st, 2023. Now, that is next week, which means it applies to Ultimate Cup, I believe, as well as the regional scene, as well as locals, of course. But this is definitely going to be changing a bunch of the decks that are going to be wanting to be played in those formats. And so definitely going to affect our meta very differently from how the JP has it. So starting things off, like I mentioned before, it's effective June 1st. First card is Blossomon. Now, I am not a green player. I've never really played a full-on green deck. But this card, I have played against them, so I do know this card. Digisorption -3 means that this card is free. And the fact that green already has so many reductions of like cost or very, very low amounts of Digivolution costs, I can understand the logic for hitting this card. It does basically get from a 4 to a 6 for pretty much nothing. If you pull this, and a lot of their cards do like to be suspended or have the ability to unsuspend, and so I completely understand. But let's hear what they had to say about this. So, when using plant vegetation fairy decks, this card can easily digivolve to level 6, even with very little memory. This limits the future card design possibilities for green and plant vegetation fairy decks. It also removes the need for another level 5 card with Digisorption. For these reasons, we've decided to restrict this card to 1 per deck. Now, I'll talk about this in just a moment, but you're going to see a theme with a bunch of these cards about the limit of future design. So what I believe this is kind of saying is, first off, it's like I said before, it's just super easy to go into a level 6 without really paying any memory. You could have, basically I've seen people who have 1-2 memory be able to go to a level 6 from like a level 3 or 4. And it is kind of frustrating. It's like you have everything in your hand you need. All right, cool. But it's also saying that they can't really release cards or put out card designs that support these traits if blossomon already exists there, and they can't even really give you another Digisorption type of card. If they were planning on putting that in BT15 or a future set, they really have to be careful, because it's like, all right, we already have Blossomon, we already think it's Agitarmon, something like that, that also has it. There's another one that has it as well. So there's a couple different cards that already have Digisorption effects that are in trait, plant vegetation fairy. So completely understand the thoughts and feelings about this. But if you have any thoughts or feelings of this should have not been hit, definitely let me know in the comment section below. I'm not a green player, so I don't know all the things about it. Now, the second one definitely is going to have some meta impact is impmon here. So we'll talk about our thoughts and feelings, because I am a beelzemon player, and it hurts me to see this, but I completely understand the reasoning for this. So let's talk about it first. All right, so we have in current beelzemon decks, this card has an effect to trash the additional cards from the top of the deck, making it too easy to build up cards in the trash. Additionally, it even removes the need for using cards such as the starter deck 14 Ein Mako to place a card to the top of the deck, so it can activate an effect when it is trashed from the deck, accelerating the game speed and limiting future card design possibilities for cards that reference the number of cards in your trash. So again, looking toward the future, saying like, okay, well, let's say we give you guys more support for beelzemon, or even like a different archetype. Maybe you mix the 2 archetypes together or something. It basically will say like, okay, this is too strong, you're getting to your 20-30 cards of trash on turn 2, turn 3, and I've been in those situations as well as a beelzemon player. You stack your top of your deck and you mill 6 something cards just from that, and you can get to 10-20, which makes a lot of your other impmon effects very relevant and active. And plus, beelzemon X being able to trash cards from your opponent's security doesn't really give your opponent the ability, because this card is just so fast to respond. So on a fairness level, I completely understand this is a perfect hit. I think to one was the right choice. It follows the Ultimate Cup format, which I've already been testing with the deck with a couple of different builds, and I do think that this was the right hit. It's unfortunate because I didn't get to play competitively with this deck as a play in a regionals or anything that was very, very big. And maybe they wanted to do this before the store championships came out as well, so you don't have 16 players playing beelzemon. But I completely understand this hit, absolutely. And just some like suggestions what you could also like put in for this is Calling from the Darkness to recycle it back to hand. You can play Dobermon as well. Dobermon mills 3 and is also able to recur back a card. So you can mill 3, get back the impmon, put it in your hand, and recycle it that way. So there are still ways of utilizing the strategy. This does not really, it does hurt the deck. It definitely makes it less consistent. But yeah, I think that they hit this one right. All right, so let's talk about this one because this one I do have a little bit of a gripe with. So where Garurumon was also hit. The current deck's using the BT9 one, so that's the one that unsuspends when digivolving on top of where Garurumon. Enables a quick defeat using the card. It doesn't have extreme power in the current play environment, but this card limits the future card design possibilities for decks that reference the name Garurumon. For this reason, it's been put to 1. So I agree with the hit. I just think it was at the wrong time. If you look at the top decks going into the BT12 format right now, there's maybe 1 or 2 tops with the Garurumon deck. And I completely understand the logic for this. I even myself would say, like, yeah, like the deck is too powerful. You have to hit something on it. But I feel like, it's really unfortunate because this is one of my favorite archetypes in the game. One fan favorite of my show too. Like, watching the show first season and trying all those other ones. Gabumon and Matt were my favorite characters, so are my favorite characters. But I understand, if you in the future you're gonna be in BT14, we're gonna be getting stuff that is Garurumon support. And as well as a starter deck, I think starter deck 15 or 16, one of those. And they don't want to enable future OTKs with this deck. With the security +1 as an inherited and the ability to unsuspend on attack as well, I completely understand their hit. I just think it was at the wrong time. No one's really playing the deck anymore. Like they said, it's not really a card that's very powerful in the current format. But it does limit the future design, which is kind of what this theme is for the ban list, I believe. But I do see where they could have done this. I think this would have been a good if they were ever going to do this. Make a semi-limit list and put this to 2, just to see, at least right now, or even just put a delay on this like they did. They've done it in the past where they say this is not into effect until this point in time. They could have done that because we don't get Garurumon support up until the starter decks come out for which is I think is going to be something like November or September, somewhere around that time. So we have like something like 4 months until that happens. They could have done something like this goes into effect in August, so people who still want to play the deck could, instead of like having to end this 1 week. But really doesn't do anything to the meta, honestly. I don't think this is going to do anything going forward. And it's unfortunate. I'm going to try to see if it still works with other replacements, but if it doesn't, I might have to retire it for a few sets. So it's unfortunate. But let's keep going down here, and we have the last one being Grankuwagamon. Like they really killed green this ban list, but this is pretty much the same reasoning. I'm gonna shorten this. I'm not gonna read exactly what they say. But basically, the ability to give like security +1 to multiple like activations of it, using the Digiverse burst mechanic. You can easily defeat an opponent in a short amount of time, and there's very few methods for defense, meaning like there's not really a way of stopping your opponent from being able to get rid of all your security in 1 or 2 checks. And it's been in the play environment for longer than expected. And then again, feature card design, that little thing for Grankuwagamon and Insectoid. And then they're going to put it to 1, of course. So again, like if you've been playing this deck in previous formats for Ultimate Cup, you know how the deck works at this point. I agree with this hit too. I think that having the ability to suspend, pierce, and also be able to do like something like 3 security checks, unspend itself, swing again, do another 2 or 3 security checks, and then just, now your opponent has 1 turn to essentially beat you down. And in the future, like, you do have stuff that is probably going to come out that does support insectoid, and it just is unfortunate that this is this got hit for green as well at the same time as blossomon, because I think right now green is going to be pretty dead for the foreseeable future until rosemon comes out, because rosemon is a very powerful deck for BT 13, so they're going to have to wait a few months for that. But yeah, definitely an interesting hit, to say the least. But let's talk about overall thoughts, things that we think could have been hit in the future. And the first one I would have said is definitely Blazing Memory Boost. EX4, we get for a new Christopher that is playable from Blazing Memory Boost, and I think it's going to make that deck a top tier deck now. Very powerful, very strong when we have EX4, which is going to change our meta completely, in my opinion. Green obviously is not going to see as much representation. I think Grandis can still see play in the Ultimate Cup format, but for regional, for regular format, we're probably not going to have too much. As well as the impmon, of course, beelzemon for the JP format is still a relevant deck, still tops in BT 13, but going forward, it's probably for us, for North America and other parts of the world, going to definitely be less that you see this deck. But there are ways of playing this deck still that make it very, very relevant. So just those thoughts over there, and that's really all I have to say about it. I think that they did a good job at hitting. I just think the timing was a little off on these, especially the garurumon. Again, like, that's a personal bias, but yeah, I definitely think that this was an interesting and a good list to start with. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Before we go, though, I do want to talk about one other thing, so let's switch gears over here. So we do have the regionals from July, August. The pricing was actually just updated with this, and it's actually really good, and they put in like some play TCG stuff, Gen Con, those things over here. But we're going to go all the way down here to the prize list, and the prize list has actually changed a little bit. As you can see here, we actually have a new set of cards. Now, I think they heard a lot of the players complaining about this, and I think it's a very smart idea to change the future regionals into different ones over here. So right now we have the ultimate lineup for regionals, and I'm wondering if this might be a theme. I'm actually curious about this, but Metal Greymon, Pyojimon, Rise Gray, Alda, Kano Wisemon, Omni Shout, and the War Graumon. So these now have an alternate art, or like a full art, that is going to be coming out in as a participation for the July and August regionals. Pretty excited for that, honestly, because I have signed up for a July regional. I think 2 of them actually, and so I'll have my semi playset of this. I actually need the Rise Greymons. That's really good. And then Aldamon. I don't play Red Hybrid, but I understand now. What's really cool about this is that they actually have. It looks like they may be actually going up the line, so I'm curious if maybe toward the end of the year they're going to get the megas in a different art form as well, and that might have been their form. And props to you, Bandai, for teasing us, maybe, or maybe this was a last minute decision of, yeah, let's change it up a little bit for the next couple of regionals. So you have the Kano Wise. I think Kano Wise is going to be a relevant card in the future because we do play Gamon. This Metal Greymon I don't think does anything. It's from BT1. So you just swing and you gain 3 memory on attack, I think, and then you lose 2 memory when at the end of your turn, or something like that. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the card there, but I do like that they did reprint it in this here. We have the Pyojimon from BT3, I believe, and it's the one that has jamming, and then you can unsuspend it if it has Imperiojimon in its name. Again, it's not a card that's really used right now, but it may see in the future. Now, Rise Greymon. First off, I really like that they may have changed the Digivolution. If you look over there, it has yellow and blue, yellow and red. Same thing with Pyojimon. They have it in the same box now instead of like 2 separate colors. So I do like that they actually changed it up a little bit. And then this one is somewhat relevant because is some decks will be playing it in future formats. Aldemon, of course, for both the Red Hybrid deck and the Ancient Greymon deck, still a very powerful card. Omni Shoutmon is used for the BT11. This is the BT11 version of it, so Digimon from blue or red. And then the War Growlmon, I'm not sure how much this is used, but I definitely know that Gallantmon decks do use this card sometimes to be able to mill out some cards, especially if you could do it with like a Chaos Gallantmon type of build. So I really think that that's really cool. This is obviously they're all like the champion or the finalist ones over here, but I definitely think that this is a really good job on Bandai. But let me know what you guys think over here. Are you guys on the same level as I am? Are you thinking this were good hits, bad hits, anything else should have been hit? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching as always, and as always, stay classy.